Dust-Ups has had so many setbacks, large and small, and thankfully the large ones have been limited to equipment rather than erosion and landslides. Here, I promise to learn on camera, mistakes, missteps and all, because the road to success is often paved with trial and error. Today, I am working on my dams. These have been in place just over a year. I thought I had the basics down. A friend from church, who's a civil engineer, told me the golden rule of dams: make sure that they are at least 3 times as wide as they are tall. And I did that right from the start. This upper dam is 8.5 feet tall, and it's easily 25 feet wide. But the slopes, let's just say I missed the mark. Add in some equipment hiccups along the way, and it feels like a mountain to climb. But in the end, those hiccups were just bumps in the road. Many of you commented in the last episode, I should have just taken a screwdriver and turned the key. The key was already in there. It was ready to turn. I just didn't think about it. I'm a novice, and I'm somewhat intimidated fixing equipment. I get stuck on there is a correct way to fix things, and being on camera and being a little bit fearful of the comments puts me on this narrow focus of there's the correct way to do things, and I didn't begin to think outside the box. But looking back, yeah, I should have just gotten a flat blade screwdriver and turned it. But I did fix it correctly, and the dozer now works again. Today, I'm making the adjustments needed to move forward, stronger than before. No catastrophic mistakes, no major setbacks. Stick around as I dive into the work and the lessons that come with building something better. That's it. We're ready to roll. I know a lot of people with a lot of experience were really concerned about that dam being too narrow, and just looking at it, it feels comically oversized, which is fine. I would rather overbuild than underbuild. And now this is higher, it's laser leveled. It's gotta be 4 or 5 times the height. I mean, it's so wide. So I think the chance of the weight of that water exceeding the weight of this material is low. I think it's non-existent. And then my real defense over time in this area, I'm going to want to especially use the ECB to plant grass. And this isn't as smooth as it could be, but I think it's just going to, instead of running the dozer, I think it's going to be easier just to kind of go over it with a little shovel and rake and just really smooth it out. Listening to myself say that I'm going to rake dirt when I have a bulldozer, it makes me grimace watching this after the fact. I wish I'd taken the extra 15 minutes to smooth that area with the dozer and make it look as nice as possible. I need to eliminate this idea of using a rake when I have heavy equipment. But the rest of this, like the dirt's in place, we've built it, it's structurally okay. Now I can bring the Mini over here and dig the spillway without having to worry about where the water is going to go and it eroding the actual dam bank. So I'm feeling really good about this. Almost done, but not quite. There's always more to do. I want to go get some water, get some lunch, and then we'll go work on the second dam, which I don't think I'll finish today, but there's a little bit of gas in there. I think I just need to use that fluid transfer pump because this is just stupid. got a leak. I thought it was here, but it's obviously coming from one of these two. It's coming from this fitting right here. It needs grease on this. Anyway, let's put that down. I'm obviously not going to dig that fast with a shovel, but for the risk of getting stuck, this Mini just does terrible on anything that's not nice and firm and compacted. It really just doesn't have enough power. I think it's going to be worth getting a shovel out and then just smoothing the way. And kind of what I'm trying to prove is that I'm not going to get myself stuck. But then I have this problem of it's squeaking, so it needs grease immediately. I'm going to get wrenches for the oil leak and grease. One tip I've picked up online with not just the Chinese mini excavators, but even landscapers using skid steers, is to lay down plywood. It avoids damaging grass, but in my case, it provides a nice wide area for tracks to grab and provide better traction. These machines can't handle uneven or loose terrain, but the weight of the machine sitting on a piece of plywood should give it enough grip to get out of any situation that I'm going to put it in.
Hi.
What's up?
Nothing much. Just coming to see what's happening.
The Mini's stuck. I found a tiny little hydro leak.
Yeah, there has been.
And
if it's stuck, I can probably get it loose for you.
Okay, well, what I realized is for the amount of time it's going to take me to dig a trench with this, I can do it in a single push on the dozer now that I've got this pretty level.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to bring the dozer here, and from this point forward, I'm just going to make my spillway right there.
Ah, cool.
I'm going to push all the dirt to the right.
So if I get this unstuck, and I think I can.
Yeah, just drive it right on up the hill.
If you pivot, that sometimes gets it stuck. I don't know if you were, but...
I literally just dug it out right now, so hopefully it's smoother.
Obviously, I think it was on a tilt so that there wasn't any fuel supplied anymore, so it died. So I went to try and fuel it just now and broke the freaking nozzle. Just snapped off, so.
I have the fluid transfer pump right there. Just put it in the jerry can and skip.
But we're gonna have to wait until it evaporates now to start it up, so we don't light the whole machine on fire.
Good idea. One of my favorite parts of the Dust Ups project is knowing my place in the world. I'm a tiny speck on the landscape, but I'm connected to it. I feel the same way about my family tree, and thanks to today's sponsor, MyHeritage, I can learn more about my place in the world. There are 20 billion historical records to help you build your family tree on MyHeritage. I use the instant discovery feature. That let me build quickly on the work other people had done to find my family lineage. I only put in a few hours tracing my direct male lineage, and I'm already able to go back 724 years to the year 1300. I love how it sets the context for my story and the Overton family. My greatest interest is that my family mirrors the Great Migration westward in the history of the United States. My ancestors spent several centuries in New York. Then I had a few ancestors spend time in the Midwest, and then the Dust Bowl kicked my grandparents out to California. Then my parents continued the American migration by moving to the Sun Belt here in Texas. MyHeritage also offers so many emotions together. If you have an old photo or black and white photo, thanks to the integrated AI tool, you can colorize those photos or even animate them. I uploaded an old photo and look how it colorized it. This is awesome. Head to the link in the description or scan the QR code that you see on the screen to get your 14-day free trial to myheritage.com. There are currently 2 large dams on the property, and that is all that I have plans to build. These dams never started out as dams. I just really wanted a bridge. That has been and always will be their core purpose. The Dust Ups Ranch is a mile from east to west, and it is so rugged that originally there's no way to drive across the property. And that's still true today, but at least with these dams in place, I can drive about a third of the way across. However, even though they're mostly bridges, of course, they are dams, and dams need to be able to deal with floods and spillways, and they need to be built correctly because they can hold an enormous amount of water behind them. And the reason for making 2 dams is that all the work we do relies heavily on pulling trailers. And instead of trying to turn around a trailer in a very tight space, these mesas where we have all our ranch roads are at best 30 feet wide. So trying to turn around a trailer in that space is doable, but really not fun. It's a lot easier just to drive in a small square, which is why I need 2 dams. All right, I've got this road mostly formed, but not quite. And before I get too carried away, I never did build the spillway. So I'm gonna knock that out real quick just to mark the level and not overdo the road. Hopefully I will get the access onto the middle terrace done today. Then when that's complete, Brandon's gonna be able to drive the dump trailer up this hill easily and then back the dump trailer all the way to where it's needed. What's gonna be hairy is getting the dozer down that slope. It is not gonna be fun. I'm just gonna send it. So I obviously got to clean this up quite a bit, but that's good enough. And that acts as a water bar for when the water's coming down this road. So now my job is just to smooth this section of the road. Well, I got to smooth that real fast, but I'll do that on my way out of here. I'm going to smooth this section of the road so that the grade isn't too bad. I'm going to fill the middle with stones just like this. I might as well do that now. Well, it'd help if it landed where I wanted it, but basically fill it with stones so that we don't have that big drop. It'll be bumpy, but it's a ranch road. And now I got to make sure that he can pull to the top of the terrace with, or to the top of this hill with a fully loaded trailer that he can back up and get on the terrace. So that's the next step. My thinking is that
push this out too a little bit. I think it'd be great eventually, but I can do it. I think.
Yeah, I was just trying to avoid the mulch.
It will be a little tricky backing up here. Like, I'll have to move this big rock or pile some on top of it. It would be ideal if this part of it was level.
Okay.
Backing up with a load.
And I tried to make this run long enough.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
The problem is it's really hard to grade this with the dozer because there's so many different types of gravel sizes.
And random blocks.
Yeah, like it'd help if we could just hand pick all this giant stuff out of the way.
Like so?
Yeah, just... Oh, actually...
A little bit like this?
Hey, actually, we're about to go. We need it down there anyway. Might as well throw it in the bed. We're going to be right on the terrace. We're going to put some rocks in the back. So, let me get my tripod. Picking rocks by hand is not ideal. It would obviously be nice to have a skid steer with a rock bucket and do this 10 times, 100 times faster. For this spot, I only need 5 yards of rock, maybe 7. So when I think about the cost to rent a skid steer, the fuel to drive 6 hours round trip to El Paso to pick it up, and then that's a whole day of labor wasted on driving, it's easier just to pick it by hand and put it in the spillway. But if we ever found ourselves doing this on the regular, then obviously equipment would be preferred. But one thing I don't think a lot of people appreciate is that there's a budget. We'll be able to get that one, but we'll probably be smarter to lift it with 2 people.
Yeah.
All right, let's dump this first.
Push them up a little bit for one more.
It could fit in there, unless there's a lot more of it than we think.
It's not that big. I just saw it move.
Yeah, I pried it with this, so. I can't get my fingers under.
Me neither.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Up. Oh, sorry.
It's all right. You okay?
I didn't have a grip on it.
Let me get in. I'm gonna tilt it up for you to grab.
Okay.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Nice and slow. All right.
That's cool. Let's dump these and we'll come back for that next set. We'll see how much more we need. I'll meet you down there. You need a turn. Yeah, right there. Try to go a little left. That's good. It worked. I'm gonna pick these. The idea of having water pass through stone rubble is called an Arizona crossing. I dug this with the dozer blade, which is 10 feet across. The wash channel is only 1 foot across and maybe a foot deep. So even though I'm filling my spillway with rock, it holds way more water than the original water channel. It has a certain aesthetic to it. It does look nice in a way, especially if you take time to organize it slightly.
It was just a shard. I thought I had a shark tooth fossil, which would obviously be an anomaly all the way up here. But
Actually, no. There's a lot of marine fossils here.
but they're usually just shell fragments, and they're like some kind of a, what do you call it, igneous thing happened to them, it seems like.
Oh.
Like since they were laid, that's interesting.
I don't know. Yeah, but I know there's snail fossils and shellfish, and this is supposed to be really cool.
This is dead. This is nothing. If it like the limestone in Fort Worth is like heavy with Cretaceous fossils. Everywhere there's rock, any construction site,
Yeah.
you find all kinds of cool
Stuff.
All right. Cool stuff, right?
That's what I said.
All right, I think we picked all the stuff that is beneficial to pick here. Let's go back to where we need to be picking. Wow, this is really not fun on an angle. I said this is really not fun on gravel. Here. I'll meet you at the top.
Imagine what the people who built the pyramids would think watching us do this.
All this work you did and you morons can't find a better way. Let's head back to camp and get some water because I got nothing. I need a good drink.
Me too.
Well, what do you think, David?
Taller and greener than in the last video. It's very cool to be in person because this is one of my favorite YouTube projects and it's amazing.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're here. We're just gonna do this outside part that's doing the worst. A viewer generously donated vetiver slips. Vetiver is commonly used in erosion control, and it is most closely related to sorghum. Sorghum is that beautiful, brilliant green grass that did so well on the terrace this year. I have actually tried vetiver before, but I did it without irrigation. Now that irrigation is in place, I'm planting it near the drip emitters to give me a local source of biomass and, hopefully, many more vetiver slips in the future. All right.
You're right, about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Did you get to see this one?
The last update you said, gosh,
Yeah, it's to my belly button. Now it's up to my chest, and you're standing a couple inches taller than it. So. Oh no. Well.
Bite it right down.
Yeah.
Ooh, those got munched.
What is tall enough to bite it like that?
Jackrabbit is. A rat could scurry up and bite it, but from over here it looks like there's a slice, a good slice, so it's something with a bigger mouth maybe. Can you tell from looking at the top of the left one?
It's pretty good size, man. That chunk is like a little, not quite as big as my fingertip.
Is it gnawed through by a mouse or snapped through by a...
Snapped.
I think rabbit.
You think so? I think you need to come hunting up here if you feel like it, because there's quite a few that have been snapped in half. They've been mainly munching on the cactus, which has been a good decoy, but...
I wish I wasn't worried about shot knocking off the emitters. I could shoot at an angle where it wouldn't penetrate the pipe, but it would knock the emitters off.
Yeah.
Have to stick to the 22 maybe.
I'd be delighted if some hatch chilies decided to grow right there.
That'd be great.
The next step for the terrace is to start adding a seed mix of winter annuals. I want as much life growing and building up the organic matter and the soil microbiology as possible. Letting 100% of the life go dormant over the winter, that doesn't do me any good. But for now, we just need to wrap up building this lower dam by applying the same lessons from earlier in the episode. It needs to be at least 3 times wider than it is tall. And the lesson I hadn't learned in the beginning, the slopes of the walls need to be much more shallow. As we finish the preparation to move on to the next 2 terraces, there's one boulder blocking my path forward. Earlier this year, I tried moving it with the bulldozer. It was stuck so bad that I only had 2 realistic choices, explosives or Dexpan. I did price out the boom boom sticks with the help of my veteran friends. It would have cost me about $1,000 for the correct amount of C4 to blow that rock. Although that would have been way more entertaining, it's hard to argue against expansive grout or Dexpan. The Dexpan cost me $57. And we unfortunately forgot to film the time lapse of the Dexpan breaking the rock, but you can see how well it worked out. Drilling holes and putting the Dexpan in there put 18,000 PSI on the granite, and here's the result. So I want to look at it. I haven't seen it since this morning. I didn't really walk around. I literally just took these pieces one at a time and used the dozer just to push it down here.
There's giant pieces.
They are gigantic. They're so big. I mean, look at, like, it boggles my mind the dozer just pushes that so easily.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool how that just split like that? I think that's so neat.
Yeah. Through the whole rock. I didn't think it would go all the way through.
We're gonna put tons and tons of these stones. I'll get the dam level up to the height that it needs to be, and then we'll see. We gotta decide where the level's gonna go. And it probably should go right here. The dam's absolutely gotta be taller than this spot at all places. Yeah. So this thing, it's totally fine to look at, just don't have your eye level anywhere near the laser.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the receiver, and that'll go on that big stick. But this thing, I think this works out to 500 yards, which is probably like, I think, 470 meters, something like that. So that's the thing, it's just gonna spin the laser everywhere. It's gonna start spinning and it's gonna level itself to perfectly level.
Yeah. Does it use visible light or infrared or?
I don't know the spectrum. You can stare at it and find out.
I don't know.
Temporarily. It's gonna get really irritating. Come over here, mark it on this side.
Yeah.
Give me a second. That's enough, and then let's just find the low spots. Those are the rocks we split.
Oh, that a good 80% of that was under the dirt.
Yeah.
From what I saw.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, no wonder why I couldn't push it.
That makes sense why the dozer couldn't move it.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And I knew this was lower than the spillway. I just needed to get an idea for how bad it is. But knowing that, okay, I got to start right here. Can you actually put 2 flags like right here? And then that way I know that this is kind of the starting line for where the problem is. All right, that's it for your laser level lesson.
Laser level lesson.
Yes,
Yeah.
You're now edumacated. All right, let me go turn that laser off.
I gotta go look at those trees because it's been a little while since I saw them.
Yeah, I got to cut all that sorghum now.
Yeah, but it's good seeing those trees up, you know.
Yeah?
Last time I was here, you had to walk at least into the terrace to see them, and now you can see them all the way down.
This doesn't look like it's sitting too well, but there it goes. It's off. That's not good.
It might have been that Brandon and I, because we planted the
The cactus last night?
cactus last night,
Yeah.
we forgot to.
Have you accidentally touched it yet?
I was about to say we don't point fingers, but
It was me. I did it.
yeah. No, I mean, I don't think the trees are going to come out on camera, but I can clearly see them in person.
They're very, very prevalent.
They'll be a lot more noticeable when I cut all that sorghum down and put it on the mulch. The sorghum's an annual, so it'll freeze and that'll be that. It looks good. Once we get a little further ahead of schedule, we can be a lot more disciplined about clearing vegetation before we run the dozer.
Yeah.
But right now it's kind of like, it's disjointed because I'm not able to plan well because I don't have the experience to do it. Yeah, the road looks awful. Let me get on the dozer. I need to.
It's not horrible.
It's awful. It's awful. There's no sugarcoating that.
I mean, none of us are heavy equipment operators either.
I have almost 70 hours of experience, Daniel.
Okay.
Actually, I think I have, I've got 75.
I got like, what, 3?
Way more than me.
I'm not an expert. I think this episode clearly establishes that, but things are coming together. This year was my first with syntropic agroforestry, and I have trees growing in the desert. Infrastructure like the dams is occupying a lot of time, but it's time well spent. Even though I would rather be working on plant stuff, it's this work of facilitating access that makes everything go faster in the long run. The better that my access gets and the more I'm able to grow my own mulch, the faster and more successful this project's gonna be. On this trip, I unfortunately was not able to finish the lower dam, but I have Brandon living and working full-time on the ranch. He should have that wrapped up before I make my December trip. The goal of that upcoming trip is to establish vegetation on those dam faces. I really want to get that slope locked away so that in the very unlikely event that we had a winter rain, that there would be something there to slow the water down, to soak it up, and to prevent erosion. That is going to require some irrigation, but it's temporary. We just want to get some plants established to get us through the winter, and then in the spring, we will go for native vegetation and native grasses to make sure that that dam is not a temporary bridge, but a permanent feature on the landscape. Thank you so much to MyHeritage for sponsoring this video. If you're also curious about your family origin, don't forget to check out MyHeritage using the link in the description.